Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next segment of 24 Authors in 12 Hours. I have Wendra Collen here. This is her amazing book, Evil Was a Child Once. What I will say is, when I started reading this book, I was like, I'm staying up all night and reading this book. And so make sure if you're going to read this book, it's like a binge read, right? It's just like Lay's potato chips. So you're not going to be able to put it down. Wendra, welcome so much.
Thank you. And by the way, I am holding this compact and wearing this dress so that you all know, yeah, that's really me on the back. It's just maybe a few years ago, but it's the best picture I've ever taken. So that's why I wanted it to be my author picture. I'll put the compact down now.
Well, you look amazing still, so I'm sure you would take just as fabulous of a photo today as you did in yesteryear. Let's talk a little bit and get into the story. I mean, the whole premise, Evil Was a Child Once. What inspired this book?
Well, it's a little boring, but I guess also weird, like the rest of me, in that it's nothing I wrote recently. This was back in 2010, and I don't know if anyone in the audience can relate to this, but I was in a meeting and I was really miserable, realizing, oh my God, I am somehow in the wrong job. Like, this is horrible. What the hell is this meeting about? I want to leave, So I was just kind of in my head, and I can't say that this is the first time this has happened. It's like I get this message that just says in my head, evil was a child once. And I honestly felt like putting down my notebook and going, like, what the hell just happened? And I thought, well, that's such an interesting sentence. I should write it down. I scrolled it on my notebook, which, I was supposed to be taking notes in the meeting. And I just thought, well, I was already writing short stories. And I thought, I want to know what happens. Who's evil? What is evil? She's a kid and named Evil. Why would anyone do that? And that's how that started. It was just so weird that and again, not the first time that's happened. It seems like a message pops into my head and it's something really weird. And I'm like, well, tell me more.
Well, and then you become obsessed with it, right? Because you're like, oh, I've got this idea and now I have to get this out of my head into the writing.
Yeah. And I have to say, it started off as a short story, which I still offer on BookFunnel for free to get y'all to sign up for my newsletter. But I just realized, I'm like, okay, there are a few people like Kelly Link who can make a living writing short stories and, putting them into compendiums. But I just thought that would be a hard road. I thought I have to teach myself how to write a novel. And oh, mother of God, I know all the other authors on here can relate, whether you taught yourself like I did and Ray Bradbury did, or you went for an MFA. That is one damn hard road. Oh my gosh, so much to learn. But yeah, it took years and years to turn that short story into a novel.
Put your website in here. You mentioned your newsletter. So anybody who wants, we've got the links to her book, this book. She's got more books. You can find all those books and sign up for her newsletter on her website. So definitely join Wendra there, because that's super exciting. If you don't subscribe to author newsletters, you're missing out, because this is how you find out all the cool info. So let's talk about that a little bit. When you write, are you somebody who keeps it structured? Are you somebody who kind of just goes by your seat of the pants, like a pantser? Are you kind of like a hybrid? You have like a structure, but then the characters just do what they want?
It's definitely a hybrid, but I've become more and more intuitive over the years in that, as I said, stuff comes to me in messages, in my dreams, and I kind of just try to figure out, like, what is that? What's going on? And I will say, though, I read a lot of craft before I got to that point. So I feel like formal structured craft is influencing it. But now it's everything from character to plot is really just very intuitive and not, I have friends who are the exact opposite, who, 50-page outlines and, more power to you. But I will say, I still do a lot of background development, even if it's kind of messy over email in notebooks, but a lot of intuition.
So you mentioned earlier, you're like, oh gosh, I didn't know what I was doing. So When you began your writing journey, what was sort of the defining moment or a mentor? What made you just say, like, I'm going to do this thing? I'm going to actually take what I scribbled in this notebook and write.
Yeah. Wheels, I'm waiting for you to come back. You're asking me something interesting.
No, what I was saying is, what was it you
Oh,
scribbled down? Evil was a child once, and
I'm back. Now I just need to
yeah. So
see Amy.
can you hear me, Wendra?
Hopefully y'all might have helped like that much. I will go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna wait for Wendra to come back. She seems to have just dropped off. So for those of you who are watching, we have Wendra, Colleen, who I'm not sure what just happened to her. Hopefully nothing scary. Hopefully evil did not get a hold of her. But while I am waiting for Wendra to reappear back into the chat area, which I see she's back here, I'm adding her to the stage. So just keeping the audience entertained. So Wendra, I'm going to go ahead at this point, and I'm going to read a little excerpt from Evil Was a Child Once, and then you can tell us what you were thinking when you wrote it. And she doesn't remember this passage. So, yeah. Evil lay on her cot, spent. Drawing left her tired like a run-down battery. She closed her eyes for a moment, imagining herself in her favorite chair in the children's realm. For Evil, living at the library of strange and unusual things was the closest she'd ever come to directly experiencing happiness. Before, back in Boston, she had to go to school, even summer school, where teachers called her Miss Mather, and the students made fun of her, ignored her, or worse, tormented her when no one was looking. She never knew what was going to be in her desk, in her lunch, or on her seat. No one tried to make her do anything at the library. Her father expected her to make her own breakfast and lunch, and they shared dinner, like back home. He had one rule: don't leave the library grounds. And that was it. At first, Evil couldn't believe he wasn't going to snatch her freedom away. She stayed in bed for a long time, then crept around the living quarters. But each time her father walked in, he said with a note of surprise, "Are you still here, Evil?" And then he would smile and head into his study. It took over a week before Evil screwed up her courage to step into the library all by herself, with no teachers, no students, no father. The crowds of tourists both scared and excited her. But when she entered the children's realm and found the large, hardbound books with the soft, delicate drawings of fairies and queens, where girls with curses were cured and loved, her heart soared and her laughter bubbled up from inside her. Do you remember writing this?
Excuse me. I don't at this point, because I should have added that or if I didn't say before, it was 2010 when I first had the idea for this. So it's been a while. But the thing that stood out to me in the passage you chose is the bullying she experienced. And I will say that 99% of my characters, at least, don't consciously have anything about me in them. But this was one exception. I definitely was bullied as a child. So you could say I have a doctorate in bullying, and thank God it wasn't as bad as Evil. I didn't find horrible things in my lunchbox and stuff. Like, I make it pretty bad for poor Evil. And in fact, in the short story that led to the novel, you get more of a flavor for that level of bullying. But I know a lot of kids experience that too. But that is an example of where I did draw on my own experience, because I'm like, okay, I know what it is like to be a bullied child. So
I think what drew me to that made me think of was the library. And I think what I'm saying for the readers out there, the authors out there, I think we all have this affinity for libraries, for bookstores, and then being like safe spaces, a space that you can go to. And I really just
Yes.
pulled that out here as, she'd been to these schools, she's been to these not nice places, but the library is like a sanctuary, right? The library is like a place that you go to. And in stories like the never ending story where the boy hides in the bookstore, right? There's just so many cases.
I love the never ending story. love it. I have a copy upstairs.
It is such a great book. And I just think that kind of concept that you go to the library
Yes.
is a place of safety. Was that your intent for this at all? Or I know it was a long time ago, but and do you still feel safe in a library or a bookstore?
Was what the intent?
I said, was that your intent for the library to be a sanctuary?
Oh, was the intent? Oh, 100%. And again, that's one of those things, I have no idea where that library came from, but as I think I just really let my imagination run wild on like, what would it be like in a library that had living stories? And that's how the idea came of like, there are things from the stories everywhere. And I just love the idea that I'd pull out a book and go, oh, there's a statue, and that statue is in that story. And just the feeling that would be for an adult, much less a child, seeing like the chocolate bar from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, I would have freaked had I experienced a library like that.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very strong. So I'm going to ask this question, and I think that this is really, really important. But on your journey from like writing, scribbling, to then getting it published, the editing process, and now the marketing process, what has your journey been, and what would you advise others?
I'll be honest, I feel so new in my journey as an independent author. I would have different advice for just being an author, like craft and reading all that and everything. Just even if you don't, I didn't find a single craft book that I was like, oh, that fits me. I mean, I'm an amalgam of everything I've read, but if I were to pick the hardest thing of being indie, which has been almost as hard or harder than teaching myself how to write a novel, it would be the marketing. And the weird thing is, as you might be able to pick up, I'm extroverted, and you'd think it would be a little more natural for me than most writers are severe introverts, but it's not. Marketing is in no way natural for me at all. I hate promoting myself. And anybody who gets my newsletter knows that, because the first thing I talk about is someone else's book. I do a book review of someone else. Like, I don't like promoting myself, even though people in marketing say, well, that's actually not how you do it. Yeah, I got it. But I would say, if you can afford to hire that out, like, go for it. But that is the most difficult thing of being independent by far, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of traditional authors, even going through publishing houses now, are saying like, you've got to promote
Still
yourself.
have to do it. Yeah, my friends with agents are still creating their own websites, still trying to do their own newsletters. There is a lot that you're still going to have to do, even if you take that traditional route. And I queried for many years, so I know a lot about the publishing industry, have friends who are agents, so I can definitely talk to both sides, the good and the bad, because there's good and bad on both sides. Absolutely.
Yeah, and for those of you who are familiar with this event, this is an indie publishing sort of event, hybrid publishing. One of the things that's really great when you do publish indie or a lot of hybrid is you then control the royalties, you control your content, you control a lot of that. So let's talk a little bit about that. Is creativity. What are you working on right now, and what's sort of the future right now? What's coming out for you?
Well, October 31st, I only have a proof, so it's going to look a little funny, but this is coming out October 31st. It's called The In-Between, and it is about two teen enemies, JT and Sylvia, who find themselves at an afterlife bed and breakfast, and their spiritual mentors tell them, so sorry, you have 9 days to figure out how you died, or if you don't, we're going to send you back to Earth to be reborn and die young all over again. So this is basically Cemetery Boys with a dash of The Good Place. So unlike Evil, there's a lot more humor in this. There is trauma. I have trigger warnings at the outset here, but a lot more humor, especially in the afterlife. So if you are interested in that kind of thing, what goes on after you die, highly recommend. I'll be honest, this is probably my favorite book, and I'm working on book number 6. So that's why I'm saying this is still my favorite.
So I think that's super interesting. Going to be a Halloween release soon.
Yep, definitely.
So definitely check out Wendra's book, sign up for her newsletter. Let's talk a little bit now about how has your personal experiences, you said the bullying piece came out of it, but how do your personal experiences reflect on your writing and what you're writing now?
To be honest, they rarely do. Sometimes I take things from other people's experience and then expand on it, but Evil is just the one example I could think of that I was like, oh, I did pull on my own experience. You will see, like in my later books, academics appear, because I was an academic for 5 years. So at least that's, a venue that I know and can present authentically. In book number 6, there's definitely a professor who's going to have a major role. But other than that, where these characters come from, God or goddess only knows. I cannot tell you. I'm just grateful that they continue to come.
Yep. So I'm going to go back to Evil, but just because that's the book that we featured on today for this kind of dystopian. And so a lot of times dystopia is looked at future, but what I really liked about the concept for this book when it came to dystopia, I mean, this is very much a dystopian childhood. Like, this is not a healthy, happy childhood, like this is, but it's got some magic elements and some coolness to it. What do you want the readers to talk about or experience? Like in your experience after having written this, what have readers said that just really struck you about this book? What do you want a reader to get out of it?
I really hope that they would, like, if they feel like an outcast, like Evil, that they would realize that you're never really alone. I mean, she finds Davy. There's always someone you're going to find. And you might have this weirdness, like in Evil's case, she has this very dark, strange power that she hates and feels like she's cursed. She repeatedly talks about, I'm cursed. But you can also turn what feels like a curse into a blessing. You can embrace your power. It might feel like a curse, a weakness, or something like that. But I'd like you to focus on, well, how can I turn that around? How can I see that in a different light and instead make it my strength? It's like if someone calls you, a bad name, like, well, how can I own it? How can I take that on? I mean, Ms. Magazine, there's been magazines that start with a B that are say, I'm going to take a nasty name for women, I'm going to own it, and I'm going to call it, by this name in the magazine. There have been groups, bands that use certain words in their band name because they're like, you can't, impose that on me. I'm going to own it, so you can't use it against me anymore. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And that's the kind of conversation I'd like to generate.
It's super interesting. I don't know if you know this or not, but under my pen name of Ash Milton, I talk all the time about this concept of book horse. And I just love bringing back the word whore to it and saying, like, people have tried to shame this, but, I much rather like have a bedside full of books. And if that is what makes me a book whore, I'm owning it. And I just think there's such a huge community of us out there, of women who are like, I've got a cat or a dog and I've got a stack of books. And that's all I need on my king size bed at this point in life. Right. And
that
so
sounds awesome.
I think that ownership is so incredibly powerful of those kind of words.
Oh,
so
definitely.
We've really kind of just taken this meandering journey about your writing and writing in general. You've talked a lot about craft, so I kind of want to pull that thread. If you wanted to recommend new authors, people who are interested in writing, what kind of craft books or websites, because I want to open it up to websites, blogs, etc., do you think that they should be reading, and which ones do you?
Well, the awful thing is, the one I like the most, I think you're going to have to dig. It was called Terrible Mind. In fact, I think it's still called terribleminds.com. But the author and I'm having one of those moments where I'm like, the author just went out of my head. I mean, highly, highly prolific. So I apologize, but it is terribleminds.com was the one that I personally loved. And you're going to have to dig a little for his writing advice because he's been doing it so long. I think he's archived it. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed that I can't remember this awesome author's name.
But I'm putting the link in here, and
you're going to tell me.
He is writing about apples right now. Let's see. Where's Wendig? What the hell is?
Yeah, Chuck Wendig. Thank you. I apologize because he's very famous. Chuck Wendig, and he curses every other word, which is also near and dear to my heart. I've restrained myself, if you haven't noticed, for this interview, but that felt like someone was speaking my language, you know. And so he's funny as hell, and he talked about the importance of stakes in plotting and having certain plot points. And I just found him incredibly accessible. Again, not the only thing read, but just one site that I found incredibly useful, again, from someone who's been writing a very, very long time, someone I greatly admire. Dig a little if you want to use terribleminds.com.
Well, what I would say is
you disappeared. Yay, technology.
So Staircase in the Woods is his current post, and it is a book review, and he also talks about librarians and
there you are.
So lots of great stuff there on that site. I do want to talk 1 minute here real quick about 24 authors in 12 hours. This is an author helping author event. I'm going to put the link in here. If you are following this and you want to donate, that is awesome. In addition to that, we have merch now. So if you want to buy a 24 our coffee mug or water bottle, we have those available. And then I'm going to shamelessly plug and promote my own book. And Wendra, I'm sure you do not know this from our conversations, but this book also focuses on hidden underground libraries. It is a dystopian fiction set in 2055.
Woohoo!
And it is all about how so much has changed in the future. They have been women are basically marginalized. The age of adulthood has now been moved to 16. For those of you who are not following, there's a proposal for that in Britain right now. The Family Voting Act has passed in this future, where now votes are done by the head of household, and all kinds of crazy things is going on in this future. And data is curated and fed through people who are you get the information that the elites feel that you need to have.
Wow. No, it has gender going on, dystopia. Sign me up. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. So I love having our authors here from 24 authors in 12 hours. And so, Wendra, we're about ready to wrap up our session. Anything we didn't cover that you want to talk about?
I guess only I would share a story, because we were talking about if you feel like you're weird or a freak and embrace it. And I will share a story that Ray Bradbury shared. I'm a big fan. I got to actually hang out with him for a time. We were his host family when he was at a conference my dad was hosting. So I love this man very much. And he told the story, and he has publicly told the story of when he was young, how his friends made fun of him for like reading, the 40s and reading Buck Rogers and all these comic books. Like, he was really obsessed with space and everything. And they just told him, you're a geek, you're a nerd, and he threw them away. Like, he took their advice and he tried to conform. And then he realized, guess what? He's miserable. And he found them all. And he's like, basically, F you. You're not my friends if you don't accept me for who I am. So be like Ray Bradbury, embrace your weirdness.
So we just had a comment in the post here from G.E. Moore, who is also one of the authors we interviewed earlier. And the thing is, he completely embraces comics. And so a big plug for his book, I know you love
Yay!
plugging other authors, is this will not be the exact right name, but go to his stuff, G.E. Moore, you'll find him. And it's the retirement home for wayward comic book heroes. So definitely check that out if you have the time. Some great authors on this show.
That sounds awesome.
I'm going to go and talk to our next author. Thank you so much for being here, Wendra. This has been phenomenal.
Thank you so much, Amy. Good luck to all the other authors.